The pregnant wife said our firstborn would go to her late ex-boyfriend's family, because she promised them kids, and claimed that since she's the mother I can't stop her, so I told her to repeat that at court. Guess who confidently lost 100% of the custody? My wife went through something very traumatic. The love of her life before me, whom she was with for 11 years, passed away in a tragic accident. What I didn't know was that when I married her, she didn't tell me about the promise she made a decade ago. She said she would hold to it. When I tell you this promise, you might think she's crazy because I do. Hello, everyone. My name is Winston. I married my wife, Rose, a year ago after 2 years of dating. Recently, she told me we were expecting, and I couldn't have been happier until she revealed something major I was unaware of. Let me give you some backstory. Rose was in a very serious relationship years before we met. She and Elliot dated for almost 11 years. They were high school sweethearts, about 16 years old, and deeply in love. They even made their long-distance relationship work for college. I've seen some of their pictures, and it was clear they shared a very deep love for each other. If things hadn't ended up as they did, I would have probably wished for a relationship like theirs. Everyone knew they were going to get married and have loads of kids. Even their families knew that nothing would ever break them apart. Well, that was true. They never broke up. Rose also told me that Elliot was almost going to propose when it happened. A drunk driver took Elliot out. He was getting home to Rose when a truck hit his car from the side. He didn't die on impact, but the drunk driver did rush away. The next car that came through was the one that noticed Elliot bleeding badly and took him to the hospital. He didn't make it through surgery, and Rose was heartbroken. She had built her entire life around this man, thinking he was the one for her. He died in such a tragic way. Elliot's family was there for Rose during her difficult time. They treated her like their own daughter, even to this day. Rose is close to her own parents, but she still spent weeks with Elliot's parents after their son's death. It took her a few years to start dating again, which I guess you could say is understandable. However, it wasn't working out for her. She wasn't sure if she wanted to find someone or not until I found her. I own a bar and saw her drinking with a few friends after work. I thought she was pretty, and I was single, so I started to flirt with her. Initially, she was reluctant, and I didn't want her to feel uncomfortable, so I stopped pretty soon, thinking she was just not interested in me. However, she came back a week later, this time reciprocating my flirtations. Later, I found out about her past with Elliot and why she was hesitant when I approached her. She also told me how she couldn't stop thinking about me for a week and thought she had blown her chance with me. Well, I thought she was cute and charming and asked her out. We went out a couple of times, and that's when she revealed her past with Elliot to me. I tried to be understanding towards her and respect her relationship with Elliot. I had hoped that it would make her feel relaxed and she wouldn't think I was pressuring her in any way, and it did work out that way. Within a year, she had moved in with me, and we were completely in love. Throughout our relationship, I've tried not to compare our relationship with her relationship with Elliot, but it's difficult because everyone in her family loved Elliot. Rose, however, rarely brought up Elliot until I asked about him. I think she's trying to respect me and Elliot by not bringing him up. And you know what? I was grateful. I never wished to take Elliot's place in her life, but when we were dating for almost 2 years, I couldn't stop myself from thinking about marriage. I wasn't sure what Rose would think about it, and I tried asking how she felt about marriage. But she told me that I would just have to ask her with a beautiful smile. At that moment, I knew she would say yes, and she did. We got married soon afterward, and it wasn't a huge affair. Elliot's parents came. I got to meet them for the very first time. They were nice and even asked a bunch of questions. They asked me about my health, which struck me as odd at the time but now makes perfect sense. By then, I hadn't thought it was weird that my wife was so close to her ex's parents. They treated her like family, and I thought that was probably habitual to them. They had thought they would be a family for 11 years after all. Now I do see that it was absurd. We'd been happily married for a year when she revealed she was pregnant. We hadn't planned it, so I kind of freaked out. I didn't want her to think I didn't want the future for us and that I wasn't happy. I mean, I was just a bit nervous. However, I reacted positively and did everything a good husband should do, panicking only on the inside. That's when she dropped a giant bombshell on me. She said that the baby wouldn't be ours. Well, I was pretty confused for a moment. I thought she had cheated on me, but I calmly asked what she meant. And she told me about the promise she made to Elliot's parents years ago. She promised them that her first child would go to them. Well, that didn't make sense. I told her so. She said she had made a promise and she wouldn't break it. I claimed that this is my baby. How could she make this decision without first talking to me? She claimed she didn't think it was important as we hadn't decided on having kids yet. Well, obviously, I was shocked. I was so shocked and angry at her reasoning. It made no sense. However, she claimed that it made complete sense to her. I hadn't wanted kids just yet. She claimed that we could have kids when I wished, but this was not a kid I wanted. So this child could just go to Elliot's parents. I couldn't understand what was so hard for her to understand. Just because it was a surprise pregnancy doesn't mean that it wasn't my child. I screamed at her that it was still my kid and I wanted to raise my child as such. She reassured me that we would have a kid of our own, but I said that we are having a kid of our own right now. This kid is going to be our child. I screamed at her that this kid was mine and hers, not a commodity to be shipped off to someone else just because she promised them. I asked her if she knowingly got off the contraceptive pill without my knowledge so that she could indeed get pregnant. She stayed silent at my accusations, and I've had enough.